The Cannabis Show is for information only. You should always consult with a qualified and licensed physician or other medical care provider.
It's the Cannabis Show. Today we'll explore a strain named after a small fishing town in PEI, learn about CBG, and find out the best way to transport your edibles. Coming right up.
So, we all know that vaporizing is probably the healthiest, most efficient way to use your cannabis. But like it or not, there's some people out there who actually like to use the C word, combustion. Yes, they actually like to smoke their cannabis. There's a bit of a ritual to it for some people. Some people don't find that vaporizing is quite effective for them, so they're using a smoking method. But you know what? Smoking isn't all that bad. And let me talk to you a little bit about why. So there's an Emory University study that was just recently computed that basically talked about how people who are using cannabis, smoking cannabis, a joint a day for up to 20 years, didn't show any signs of lung damage. Also of note is the fact that cannabis smoke is really not linked to any cancers at all. Scientists are actually looking into this, but really there's no reason why yet, but perhaps it's because the THC is actually counteracting the harmful parts of the smoke. So if you are going to smoke, though, I would also recommend that you use a clean glass bong that's of some quality. You put some nice cold water in there with some ice to help cool and filter that smoke a little bit. A lot of times what irritates most people when they smoke cannabis is the fact that it gets really, really hot. But if you're using a water bong, it can certainly help to cool things down and also filter out some of that ash and stuff that could end up in your lungs. The other thing I would recommend is that you use something like a hemp wick to light the cannabis when you're consuming it. That way you're not inhaling any of the butane from your Bic lighter or anything like that. It's a little bit more of a pure way to ignite the cannabis. Also, make sure you're always using a clean glass piece. I can't stress that enough. Yes, that would mean using something like an isopropyl alcohol and salt or one of those ready-made formulas that you can purchase pretty much anywhere. Keep it clean after every session. I promise you it's going to become a habit that you're going to be happy with. There's really nothing quite like using a clean, fresh piece. So another thing that we would recommend would be to try some breathing exercises once in a while if you're smoking cannabis. It really helps to sort of strengthen your lungs and keep them free and clean and clear. Anyway, that's my 2 cents, and I hope you've enjoyed my heart-to-heart.
Sensi Star, or Surrey Skies, is a strain from a maritime company called Canada's Island Garden. Grown in the province of Prince Edward Island, Surrey Skies is known as an indica, although some say it is close to being considered a hybrid, as it does have a little sativa feel to it at times. With a higher THC content of roughly 18 to 19%, Sensi Star may also help with relaxation. Some have claimed it can really help with anxiety as well, although it does have a very low CBD count. Pungent, earthy, and sweet is how the scent is described. It is by no means the strongest smelling strain out there. Why change the name from Sensi Star to Surrey Skies? Why not? The licensed producer likes to rename their strains to places around the island province of PEI. Surrey is a beautiful fishing town on the east coast of the island. Hello, that's Hart. I'm Chris, and with these segments we've been talking about THC. We are going to talk about CBD and other compounds about the cannabis plant. Yeah. But really, one today, I really don't know anything about it, never really even heard of it, but it's CBG, not CBD, but CBG.
Yeah, CBG stands actually for cannabigerol, and I always kind of joke it's like the big roller, biggerol in them. What's kind of nifty about CBG, number one, it's non-psychoactive, so it doesn't have any of those get you high properties at all. But it's really often found in plants that are lower in THC. And the reason for that is because CBG is the precursor to THC and CBD. It's sort of the genesis of those cannabinoids, if you will.
Okay.
So obviously, if you have a lot of THC and CBD, you're not going to have that much CBG left in your plant. However, there scientists and growers and whatnot are really trying to zero in on the CBG because it has a lot of really good therapeutic benefits.
Okay, and what are some of those therapeutic benefits?
So particularly really good for glaucoma. It has a really nice effect on the ocular muscles and keeping that pressure down, which is a big thing, obviously. Excellent for inflammation. It's sort of mimics CBD in that regard. Good for sort of Crohn's and colitis, things like that. Also really good antibacterial and a pain reliever as well. So it kind of takes the role of the THC in that regard. But what it's really, really good for, and they're sort of doing a lot more research on, is for overactive bladder. They find that out of all the cannabinoids, this one has the most effect on those muscles within the bladder. And so there's a lot of good research being done there.
So you're saying with the research, and that is really good to know those health benefits. Is there any certain strains yet that we know of, or are we just looking for lower THC?
Not yet. I mean, that's probably the best way to look is your lower THC strains are probably most likely going to have a little bit more CBG in them. Hemp actually, because of its low THC content, is I'm not going to say it's high in CBG, but it does tend to have more CBG in it.
So sometimes when you have like those lower strains, or like, we're talking like 5 or under THC, 5 or under CBD.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be feeling pretty good in the morning, but it could be that CBG acting up as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if with those lower ones that you'd have a little bit more CBG
Well,
in
it sounds like we've got a whole new world with this CBG, and it's interesting to see where it's going to go.
Yeah, it's an amazing world.
Excellent. Thanks, Hart. The Cannabis Show. I don't sing the intro. She has a part to do with that, though. How you doing? I'm Chris. We got Kate and Evan, our experts, to answer your questions. For you can ask us anything. And today's question comes from Rob. And I actually really like this question because there's quite a bit of confusion here. And he says, I get that you have to keep your medicine in the original container with your name and the doctor's name on there. So how do you legally transport homemade edibles?
Good question.
Best would be, if it at all possible, to put your edibles back into the original container your cannabis came into. But if that isn't possible, definitely keeping that original packaging close at hand when moving those edibles would be my best recommendation.
Yeah, it's a good point. Tilray actually has those little envelopes that you can probably fit edibles into.
That's a great idea.
But if you're not with Tilray, then. But yeah, just to make sure that you have your original container with you nearby so that if there's any kind of discrepancy, then.
And really, if you are traveling on an airplane, you might just want to just simplify it and just try to keep going just with the actual oils and maybe just infuse it into a chocolate bar or something,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So really, it's, just a lot of common sense, would you say, Evan?
Yeah, definitely. Make sure you're always discreet with your products, and keeping that original container close at hand is going to be your best bet.
Awesome. I hope that helps, Rob. If you have a question for The Cannabis Show, you can email us, thecannabisshow@naturalhealthservices.ca.